Imagine this: you're at the top of the world. Your work is on the biggest album in the country. You're friends with music legends. The future isn't just bright, it's blinding. Now imagine throwing it all away in one single afternoon. With one suitcase. This isn't a movie plot. This is the real story of John Forté. And it starts at an airport. August of the year 2000. Newark Liberty International Airport. A young man checks his bags for a flight to Texas. He's John Forté, just 25 years old. To the world, he's a Grammy-winning music genius. He was a crucial part of creating the Fugees' massive album, The Score. He worked with Lauryn Hill. He had a solo deal with a major label. Everything was happening for him. But on this day, he wasn't carrying just clothes in his luggage. Security found something that would change everything. Inside 2 suitcases, there wasn't anything you could wear. Instead, there were plastic bags. And inside those bags was a liquid. A lot of it. Tests confirmed it was cocaine. Liquid cocaine. The total value? An almost unbelievable $1.4 million. The news exploded. Fugees' producer busted with fortune in drugs. Headlines painted the picture of a successful musician living a dangerous double life. But from the very beginning, John's story was different. He didn't run. He didn't deny the bags were his. But he said something crucial. He had no idea what was inside. He claimed a friend had asked him for a simple favor. Just take these suitcases on a trip. He said he trusted the wrong person. He said he was set up. Was he a naive kid who got used by people who saw his success as a perfect cover? Or was he a drug smuggler who got caught? That question would define the next decade of his life. Let's rewind a bit. Who was John Forté before that airport? His talent was obvious from the start. He wasn't just a rapper or a producer. He was a real musician. He played multiple instruments. He understood music theory. This skill is what caught Lauryn Hill's attention. He didn't just make beats for The Score. He helped build the sound of that entire era. His contribution was so significant, he was nominated for a Grammy when he was only 21. After that, his solo career launched. His first album, Poli-Sci, got love from critics. He was the next big thing. The music industry saw a star who could bridge hip-hop with something more musical, more sophisticated. So what happens to a person like that? You have the talent, the connections, the momentum. Then, in one moment, you're in handcuffs. The arrest was just the start. The legal system moved fast. He was charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine. This is a federal charge. A serious one. The evidence was the suitcases. His defense was his word against a mountain of physical proof. He said he was carrying them for a friend named Willie. But who was Willie? That person was never really found or charged in a way that helped John. It looked bad. Really bad. The guy from the fancy music videos was now facing the very real, very tough world of federal drug laws. In the year 2001, the trial happened. The story of the setup was hard for the jury to buy. Why would a successful musician risk it all? The prosecution argued he was in it for the money, maybe to fund his own luxury. Maybe he was in debt. Maybe he just thought he could get away with it. The jury believed them. John Forté was found guilty. Now came the sentencing. This is where the story takes its darkest turn. Because of the amount of drugs involved, federal law had something called a mandatory minimum sentence. This means the judge's hands are tied. No matter what the story is, no matter if it's your first offense, the law says you must get a certain number of years. The judge, in this case, even seemed to feel the law was too harsh. But he had no choice. He gave John Forté a sentence that felt like a life sentence to a 26-year-old. 14 years. 14 years in federal prison. Think about that. He went from recording studios and award shows to a prison cell, facing the reality of getting out when he'd be 40 years old. His music career was over. His friends were moving on with their lives. The world was changing, and he was stuck. It felt like the system had swallowed him whole. The talented kid from Brooklyn was now just another inmate number. This is where most stories like this end. A sad tale of wasted potential. But John Forté's story was only getting started. Because in that prison, something unexpected began to happen. He started writing. Not just songs, but letters. And the people who got those letters would start a fight that nobody saw coming. Prison changes a person. For John, it was a hard crash into a new reality. 14 years is a long, long time. Music careers don't wait. The public forgets. For most people, this is where the story ends. But John had something rare. He had people on the outside who refused to let him become a forgotten statistic. The first and most fierce was Lauryn Hill. Their bond wasn't just professional, it was like family. While the world saw a convicted drug smuggler, Lauryn saw her friend, the talented kid she'd helped bring up. She didn't just send a supportive letter and move on. She launched a full-on campaign. She visited him. She paid for his legal team. She talked about him in interviews, calling the sentence a tragedy. But she did something even more powerful. She used her art. During this time, she recorded a live album, MTV Unplugged No. 2.0. The performances were raw and emotional. One song in particular, I Gotta Find Peace of Mind, felt directed at him. It was a message in a bottle, telling him to hold on. She was fighting for him with everything she had. Then, something even more unexpected happened. A legend from a completely different world entered the fight, Carly Simon. Yes, the You're So Vain singer. How did that happen? It turns out John's manager at the time was also connected to Carly's family. She heard about the case and was struck by the harsh sentence. She saw a young artist, a first-time offender, being crushed by the system. She started writing letters too, not just to John, but to powerful people. She used her influence in places Lauryn Hill couldn't reach. This was the beginning of a truly strange team. A hip-hop icon and a soft rock legend, united for one cause. The final, and most shocking, member of this team was a man named Orrin Hatch. If you don't know the name, he was a United States Senator. And not just any senator. He was a tough, conservative Republican from Utah. The exact opposite of everything you'd link to a hip-hop producer from Brooklyn. But Orrin Hatch had a secret passion. He wrote songs. He believed in the power of music and redemption. Carly Simon reached out to him. She sent him John's music and his writings from prison. Hatch was moved. He saw a talented young man who could still contribute something to the world. He, too, began to write letters. He started talking to people in the Justice Department. A U.S. senator was now personally invested in overturning the sentence of John Forté. Think about how crazy this is. In one corner, you have Lauryn Hill, one of the most respected voices in black music. In another, Carly Simon, an icon of 70s pop. And in another, a powerful, old-school Republican senator. They had nothing in common except one belief. John Forté's punishment did not fit the crime. They believed he was worth saving. This coalition became a quiet, behind-the-scenes machine. They weren't making big public speeches about it. They were working the phones, writing personal appeals, applying steady pressure where it mattered. Meanwhile, inside prison, John was trying not to break. He spent his time writing music and reading. He earned a degree. He tried to better himself, knowing his friends were fighting for him. But hope is a hard thing to hold on to when you're counting years. There were moments of deep darkness. The system is designed to grind you down. The fight on the outside was taking years. Presidents changed. The world moved on. He must have wondered if anyone really cared anymore. The key to it all was the presidential pardon. A president has the power to just wipe away a federal sentence. But it's a power they use carefully. The case landed on the desk of President George W. Bush. Think about that. A Republican president, known for being tough on crime, was now being asked to free a convicted drug smuggler because a Republican senator, a pop star, and a hip-hop legend said so. It was a long shot. A huge one. The arguments weren't about whether John was guilty. The law said he was. The argument was about mercy, about second chances. His team argued he was a first-time, nonviolent offender who had already served 7 years. They argued he had extraordinary talent and a strong support system waiting for him. They showed who was waiting for him, a community that believed in his goodness. For months, there was silence. No news. The waiting was the hardest part. Then, in late 2008, as the Bush presidency was coming to an end, a list of presidential pardons was released. Most names were unknown, but one name jumped out. John Forté. He was free. The impossible had happened. The news was unbelievable. He walked out of prison a free man on November 24, 2008. The pictures show him looking thin, shocked, smiling. He hugged his family. He thanked Lauryn, Carly, Senator Hatch. It was a miracle. The story made headlines again. Musician pardoned by Bush after celebrity campaign. It was a feel-good story for a moment. The man who had lost everything got a second chance. The world expected a comeback. They expected hit music, a return to glory. They expected a happy ending. But life after prison is never that simple. And the struggles he faced next were the kind no one could have predicted. Walking out of prison is one thing. Walking back into your life is another. John was free, but nothing was the same. The music industry he left in 2001 was gone. The digital age had taken over. He was 33 years old, but he had missed 7 crucial years. The world had moved on, but he tried. He started making music again. He released an album, Style Free, in 2009. It was good, thoughtful work. But the moment had passed. He wasn't the hot new producer anymore. He was a story. The guy who got pardoned. That's a hard label to shake. He found a different path. He started speaking out about prison reform. He talked to students. He worked with groups trying to change the system that had almost buried him. His story became his purpose. He wasn't just a musician now. He was an advocate. He talked about the waste of potential, the need for second chances. In a way, he found something more meaningful than fame. He moved to Martha's Vineyard, got married to a photographer named Laura, and had 2 kids. He built a quiet, creative life by the ocean. It looked, finally, like a peaceful second act. The storm from the suitcase seemed far behind him, but there were shadows. People close to him knew he struggled with his health. A few years ago, he had a major medical emergency, a severe seizure that put him in the hospital. It was serious. After that, he was on medication to control the problem. He kept it private. To the outside world, he was this symbol of survival, a family man making art. But his body was dealing with something else entirely. Then, in January of 2026, the unthinkable happened. He was found in his home in Chilmark. He was alone. He was 50 years old. The police said there was no foul play. The news hit like a shockwave. John Forté was gone. Just like that. The man who survived a federal prison sentence, who beat the system, was taken by something silent and medical in his own kitchen. The official cause was left for the medical examiner to figure out. But for everyone who knew his story, it felt like a cruel, final twist. He cheated a 14-year sentence only to have his life cut short anyway. This is where the rumors and questions started buzzing again.